The first time I ever foiled in my life was in '66. It was a set of 2 water skis. I did the first flip ever on one. People said, "Man, you're crazy. You're going to kill yourself. That thing's too heavy." I was the first guy to wake surf behind a boat. And it was the first foil under a kite. I was like wake thieving, you know. Just kind of. Then Laird figured out you could surf it, and that was a real eye opener. That was the big turning point, is when that happened, because that's when people looked at it a little bit differently. I came out with the air chair in '89, and we started jumping them and started getting some performance out of them. And that's when people started looking at me, man, there's something to that. You see somebody, Al Llewellyn or Aaron Brothers, go out on a sit down, they'll go up 20 feet in the air. I did the first flip ever on one. People said, "Man, you're crazy. You're going to kill yourself. That thing's too heavy. You're going to break your back. You're going to do this. You're going to do that." I said, "Yeah, right." And I went out and learned how to do it. And I thought I was the coolest guy in the world, you know. I still enjoy going out and doing flips and stuff. This part loves it, but the rest of this body, it doesn't like it that much. When this whole foiling thing started, surfing with the big wave crew in Hawaii, they invited me over to go foiling. And I'm not a surfer, and I was absolutely blown away. And it was like a 15-foot day, watching these guys, watching them, and they go, "Murphy," the second day I said, "Murphy, you want to give it a go?" And I said, yeah, of course I want to. And they said, "What size bindings you wear?" I says, "What does that have to do with it?" "Well, we're going to have to get you some clickers, to fit." I said, "No, man, I don't want to do it standing. I want to do it sitting. I want to do it on the air chair." I was piercing the surface and coming out, landing, and coming out, and landing. And they thought that was the coolest trick in the world. I said, "Dude, that wasn't a trick. I was out of control. That's one of the tricks I do, but I have to make myself do that." But I was doing it automatically. So I started shimming. First, I used to use dimes to shim the stabilizer. I had 3 dimes under the back, which I never had more than 2 before. And then I had 3 dimes under the front, shimming everything down. Then I finally got in the wave. To me, that was like the best day ever. But it was also the worst day, because next wave I got taken out, right? And now I'm tumbling, and I thought, what's going to happen when I fall? And I kind of visualized what I was going to do, knowing I didn't want to get clobbered with the foil. So the first thing when I fell, I just took my arms and grabbed under like this and held. Kept getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And I had on a vest, but it was the turbulence of that wave that was pulling me down, 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 down. And then, oh shit, I better get out of this thing. So I had to undo my foot straps, and I had to get out of the binding, and I looked up. What do you think I see? The second wave of that set. I think it was Rush. I think he sacrificed his ski to the waves. Those guys were so smart, and it's not like a surfboard where you have a leash. They see the board marking where they are. They didn't know where I was, and I happened to pop up in the right spot. And I was a goner, man. So I had my best day and my worst day the same day. It was the same time that wakeboarding started. And wakeboarding, snowboarding, it was the cool, hey dudes, pat out sideways, their pants falling off and stuff. They got into it. They were the cool guys. They were the cool guys. And then there's this old guy sitting on this thing doing it. And it's like, well, you got the loose stool, the rocking chair, the scare chair, and all these names, and it's guys that say to me, "Well, what can you really do sitting?" Then we started doing flips and stuff that it started getting a little bit better, and then the wakeboarders would get pissed at us because they would have a boatload of girls that would go out and jump, and then we'd go out on our sit down and go twice as high as them. And say, "Man, you saw how that guy went." That was kind of cool. Then Laird figured out you could surf it, and that was a real eye-opener. That was the big turning point. It was just about that time is when I hooked up with Cord Rosler at Hood River, and he was the inventor, actually him and his father, of the kites. I went up there and I did an exhibition on an air chair. They really thought it was cool. So this Corey, he went out and rode his kite. Corey said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll take you for a ride under the kite. I said, well, how are we going to do that? He said, well, I'm going to get up and have a rope around me, and you're going to hold on to a handle, and I'm going to pull both of us up. Well, that didn't work too good because the rope went around them, and when I tightened the rope, it started popping them, squishing them together. The ropes are going inside. He said, this isn't going to work. So I said, well, let's take one of your skis. They had some wave runners already in the water and set up there. I said, let's have your buddy tow me up, get me going, and you can just drag a handle behind you. I'll go grab the handle. You'll already be on up and going, and I'll be on foil, so there won't be much drag. And that was the first kite. It was the first foil under a kite. I wasn't flying the kite. He was flying the kite. I was getting a free. I was like wake thieving, you know. Just kind of, and I wanted to be the first one to say I was the first guy to wake surf behind a boat. And I actually flew it, and I went. I was going. I probably went from here to the other side of the lake there, and I was pushed by the wake. I chucked the rope, and so naturally, I'm going to claim this as like I'm claiming with the kite. First guy, my nephew Tony Clarence is a real historian, and he heard of a guy that said, "No, Uncle Mike, I wish you were the first guy, but you're not. There's another guy I heard that did it." All I know is the guy was from Slingshot. If he sees this interview or something, just call me and tell me you're the guy that did it. My mom learned how to ride an air chair when she was 75 years old. And when she was 88, she flew it to Catalina Island and back. It took her over 3 hours. That was with stage 4 cancer and Alzheimer's. So she put the bar really high for me, man. Imagine having an 88-year-old. I don't even know if I could go to Catalina and back or not. She was tough. She was tough. I had been trying, I always wanted to do a carbon fiber foil setup, right? Man, I did not like it because it didn't have the swing weight, and it floated a little bit sideways, because now it has some volume, so I can't get it under me. But the thing, I didn't like it. And then I rode it again, and after about a month, I loved it. After riding it for 2 years, I absolutely loved it, right? And then they started breaking because we were using pre-impregnated, and it has kind of a coating or something on it, and these guys weren't taking that off, so they were delaminating. And I saw this foil and said, Armstrong, I go, wow, that thing's like, looks like it's gonna work. So I called up Arm, and he said, who are you? My name is Mike. I'm Mike Murphy. He said, oh, you're the godfather. A godfather of what? Of foils. I said, I don't know if I'm a godfather. I just make foils. He said, well, you make the air chair, don't you? I go, yeah. He said, you're the man. My head just swelled up and shit. And I told him what I was after, and he said, yeah, I can make you one. And I said, you know what you need to get into it? The wake surfing is starting. You know, it's just first starting. And he said, no, I don't want to do that. He said, I got too much with the, and kiting and proning and surfing, and he said, I'm building lots of foils and I'm kind of happy with where I am, and I don't know that industry. And I said, well, you need to go out and find yourself a guy that's a good rider, that's young, that knows how to sell, that's not going to be out seeing how much weed he can smoke in the boat and then getting somebody wound up in the rope, and that can show up to work without a hangover. And I said, that might be a hard thing to find, but I'll keep my eyes open. And he called me, I found somebody. I said, who'd you find? He said, you know the guy really good. I said, who is this? His name's Mike Murphy.
This was just an absolute gift So
Oh God, it's
thank
my
you so
pleasure.
much.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I could use all the ink I can get, you know.